Welcome back to the 2015 Jesuit Sports Hall of Fame selection show. And it's my honor to be sitting next to one of my all-time favorites. I've been doing Jesuit Ranger football on the radio starting in 1998 with my good friend Jack Fitzsimmons and my other good friend Chris Martinez. And my first game was Grand Prairie, right out here. At the time it was called Hager Stadium. Of course now it's Postdale Field. And the second game was against Coppell. And I remember that there was this guy who, should have checked with you off camera on this, but I remember he was a senior wearing 88. I think you were at 88 as a junior as well. Is that right?
That's correct.
And I remember you made an incredible catch in the Coppell game. It was a rain game, and I was kind of newer to Jesuit, and I was like, oh my God, who was this number 88? Well, little did I know this number 88 would be sitting with me here in 2015, Omar Jenkins. We got a lot to talk about. Incredible athletic accomplishments here at Jesuit, but Omar, congratulations, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to have you. So, you're a great wide receiver. Let me just give a couple of these stats. You're from the class of 2000, varsity football, two-time state champ, 1999, and of course your senior season, your team MVP, TCIL All-State, TCIL Offensive Player of the Year, Dallas Morning News second team All-Area. Of course, the 98 team was your All-State as well. One of the top 100 players in Texas by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Top 100 players in the area by the Dallas Morning News. The offensive MVP of the first DFW All-Star Classic. I mean, was there any award you didn't win when you played football at Jesuit?
There were a lot, and it's funny because I now know a lot more awards exist, but I didn't win everything, and that actually was some motivation to push me forward.
Do you remember that game against Coppell your junior year? Remember it was raining, and do you remember? I mean, you're a player, so you made an incredible diving catch that game. I can still see it in my mind's eye.
I remember the play,
You do.
And in fact, I was running a go route down the left sideline, and somehow I cut across behind the defender, caught the ball, and kept going. And I remember seeing what I thought was the goal line, and I thought I had scored, and so I ended up going down. And the ref marks me on the half-yard line. And the one thing I remember, Brian Hall runs up to me, who's our quarterback, and he says, Omar, if you ever get that close again without scoring, I'm never throwing to you again. And I said, man, I swear I thought I was in, but obviously I wasn't. And we ended up scoring the next play, and the rest is history.
Yeah, you talked about Brian Hall. He was obviously a fantastic quarterback, wasn't he?
He was.
And you had a lot of great teammates back in the day that I know football's a big team sport, and I'm sure you probably owe a lot of credit to those teammates for why you're sitting here today.
I do, and the first thing I thought about was them when I got the call, and who do I make the announcement to, who do I call, who do I invite over for a party, and really my dream was to have everybody over because without them, I wouldn't be here.
Talk about your coaching staff. Of course, you coached or you played for head coach Bob Wonderlick, and what kind of impressions did the Jesuit coaches make on you?
A lasting impression, to say the least. I've known Bob and I've known the Wonderlick family for years. I remember being at St. Rita and Bob being a part of Jesuit and having his old German Shepherd walk through the halls, and of course being at St. Rita and Jesuit, the Wonderlick family is very influential there. But outside of him, there's other coaches involved, of course, Coach Williams and Squeaky, and at the time it was Coach Cherico. I don't know if any of you guys remember that.
Number 64 at the University of Arkansas, as I recall.
Right. And Coach Leal, of course. So all those guys were mainstays in the Jesuit community and the Jesuit football program, and those are guys I'll never forget.
Of course, you've been one of, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I'm not going to say it every 3 minutes, but you're one of my all-time favorites to watch. I really think you're top 5 of any player I've seen, maybe top 3 here at Jesuit, Omar. But
I appreciate that.
you also are special because you made the right choice for college. You went up to my favorite university that I am a diehard fan of, and Coach Fitzsimmons is also a huge fan. You're a member of the Fighting Irish of the University of Notre Dame. Talk about that experience.
Words really can't explain what it means to be a part of the Notre Dame family. Coming from Jesuit, going to Notre Dame, I never really knew or understood the connection that the two places had. Of course, now that I'm gone and done with both, I now see the connection that they have and the weight that both of those families carry. And I say family because that is what they are. Jesuit is a family in itself, Notre Dame is a family in itself, but they're very intermingled together. And I remember in the previous interview that you did, I heard the notion of the mafia. Well, Notre Dame is a mafia in itself in a positive sense. But it's great to be a part of that family, great to be a part of the history of that school. And you know, when I was there, of course, we weren't winning national championships, but it was still a great place.
As I recall, was that Bob Davies? Who was the coach when you were there?
My first 2 years was Bob Davie. My second 2 years was Tyrone Willingham.
Okay.
And then in between there, I had George O'Leary for 2 weeks, but that was
That's another story.
that's untalked about.
And he's, of course, gone on to great success. Now I think he's down in Central Florida, doing a great job down there. But speaking with Omar Jenkins, if you haven't yet bought your tickets for the Jesuit Sports Hall of Fame banquet, April 25th, right here at the Terry Center at Jesuit. It's going to be a great night, 6 o'clock Mass, 7 o'clock, the cocktails and dinner, and then, of course, all the festivities. And if you want to buy your tickets, call Sean McMullen up here at the Jesuit Alumni Office, and he will make sure it gets you set up. Now, Omar, you know, most people having the kind of career you had at Jesuit would say, wow, I mean, that's enough. Of course, you then went on and not only did you go to Notre Dame on a scholarship, but you got a lot of playing time. I mean, I watched every game you played in during your time at Notre Dame, and every time they showed you on camera, I'd call Jack Fitzsimmons, and we'd be so excited that there's Omar, there he is. But you weren't done there. I mean, you had some opportunities with the NFL. Why don't you talk about that?
I had a few opportunities. I was on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad during that 2004 season. And that didn't last, obviously. In my mind, I feel that I can still play and probably should still be playing, but it didn't work out that way. After that, really, it's an interesting story because I ended up with the Chicago Arena League team, and I was there for a little while during that 2005 season. And then at that point, I just kind of hung it up, to say the least, and moved on from football after that. So.
Omar, Jesuit, of course, synonymous with Jesuit is, you know, men for others. And I think it was last summer I was up here dropping my daughter off at one of the camps, and I ran into you outside, and I think you were with a bunch of youngsters, and you were taking them on some sort of a field trip or an event. You remember when we saw each other, you were up here?
Yeah, in fact, I remember what it was. We were volunteering actually that day. There was a center, and I forget the name of it, in South Dallas that just opened up, and they were having a football day camp, and they needed volunteers. And so, you know, luckily I was able to get some of the seniors that year to come help me out who were on the team, and we went there and put 100+ kids through different football drills, and it was just a great experience to get those guys to help out.
And Jesuit, I guess, of course, so big into community service. You know, they have a director of community service now, but, you know, is that something that's really instilled in you from your times at Jesuit to give back to the community?
It is, and I talk to my wife now about needing to get more involved, whether it's with Jesuit or with other organizations. But it's something that's in my heart, and I may not be the most active, but it's something that's there, and I always mean to do more, always want to do more, and that comes from Jesuit.
You know, Omar, you started the interview off talking about that rain in Coppell. I believe it was that same year we were in Sherman when didn't that game get lightning, thunder, and they canceled it at halftime?
I think it did, and I remember we were in the locker room under the stadium just sitting there, and ended up coming back.
Yeah, as I recall, Jack Fitzsimmons and I were interviewing people during the delay, just kind of filling our airtime, and I started pulling parents out of the stands, and I believe I interviewed your dad. Had a real nice visit with him. So Omar, great football player. We've talked about that, but you know, Omar, I don't want to end the interview without also talking about the fact that you started some other sports and track and field. The accolades, I could talk a lot, but let me just hit a few of them. Varsity track in the 2000 year TCIL state champion in the 4x400 relay, TCIL state champion in the 400 meter individual, state champion in the 4x100 relay. Your 4x400 relay team ran a mile in 3 minutes, 18 seconds at the Texas Relays, which set a Texas Relays record. So obviously a lot of accolades there. I mean, that's impressive. That's probably Hall of Fame worthy just in track. And you've got football, and then you also played baseball. And you're on that 1999 TCIL state championship team. And any memories from track or baseball that you want to share?
Yeah, baseball was fun, and baseball really was my first love. I remember being younger, playing on 2 teams in one season, going from one game on Saturday morning to another team Saturday afternoon, and then having football practice on Monday. But it was a great experience. At Jesuit at the time, our baseball team really was Michael Holloman and a bunch of other guys, right? And
Another Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer. And so it was a lot of fun playing and being a part of that team. And of course, the stadium is not what it is today, but it was transitioning. I remember in the summer, we used to actually have to cut the warning track and cut the infield edge and replace that grass with sod and resand the infield. So we did a lot of work to get it to where it is today. And then track was funny because I actually ran track on a club team when I was younger. And didn't pick it up again until my senior year here in high school in preparation for football playing in college. And I really didn't think I would do as well as I did. And I remember one time I really didn't want to run the 400 meter. I just, for whatever reason that day, I didn't want to have to deal with it. So I was down on the long jump pit, just kind of trying to avoid the coach to call me over there. Well, they held the race for me, and I said, oh man, these guys are holding the race for me. And the only reason they did that was because it was an event here. And so I go to the starting block, literally from the long jump pit to the block, start, and end up winning the race. And I was just like, I guess I should have just ran it in the first place. And but a great experience, had a lot of fun traveling around to the different events. And of course, Texas Relays. And that's an event in itself if you're unfamiliar with it. And to set the record, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, we could use the words pretty amazing about a lot of what you accomplished here at Jesuit. Omar Jenkins from the class of 2000, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to seeing you get the blue blazer, and when we come back, we'll have our next Jesuit Sports Hall of Fame inductee right after this.